Top of the morning to you. Hey, I'm Michael. Grandkids call me Roo. That's because my last name means rooster. For those of you who keep saying, "Well, I don't get it with the roosters. What is this guy doing with the roosters? Does he have chickens? Does he own a poultry farm?" No. We did find out a fun fact though this week that there was a land grant down in West Tennessee in the 1700s, and it granted some farmland to some parents whose parents or great parents of Carol. The Rushing family, the McKibben family, and all these people, and there were some other families involved, the Schellebargers, and anyway, so they started growing some cotton on that land, and they started growing some corn on that land, and we found out yesterday that she gets a check every year for almost $28 for corn that goes to Tyson Feeds for chickens. So there's a connection for you. We both kind of had a laugh. It's like, don't tell me that while I'm drinking my tea. You get how much? $28 a year? Whoa, that's amazing. So, but you think about it, it's added up over 48 years. Who said there wasn't money in farming? Okay. All right. So it's always funny when you go in and when you do your taxes and they say, well, do you have any dividends that come in from, and you go, oh yeah, this one, $28. They go, $28, I write that one on there. I do have an accountant. She's a sweet lady, as a matter of fact. And she goes, I get your roosters, but they're weird. Okay, so anyway. All right. Hey, top of the morning to you. Some of you are out and about today on this birthday of the one and only great man, Martin. I saw the statue in Washington of Dr. Martin Luther King, and I like pictures of him better. It was huge. It was brilliant, and I love the way it was done. As a matter of fact, we did those tours at night. Carol and I biked. If you're ever in D.C. and you want to do something really outrageously fun, take an evening bike tour around the national monuments. It's unbelievable. You just drive up through traffic and around everywhere, past the White House and down in the Lincoln Memorial, and the FDR is just a phenomenal thing. If you haven't seen it, it's absolutely beautiful. Carried my small bag and made a couple little sketches in the dark. No, I thought about it and then I went, why'd I carry this? Because it's too dark to sketch. You know that old Mark Twain deal that said, they say that a dog is man's best friend. I think books are man's best friend. I think it's Groucho Marx that said that, wasn't it? But inside a dog, it's too dark to read or something like that. Hey, all right, let me say hello to you. And I like that piece of music. I'm going to play it again. It's called Rest, Settle. Just a nice little piece of music, and I woke up thinking about music. I woke up thinking about something I promised I would do for a grandson, and so I'm going to paint it this morning on my 20-minute route. So Karen, hello. Stephen Dockery, the Birdman himself, painter, is on this morning. Good morning to you. Deborah Lynn Tauber, Lori Stanley Handelmeyer. I'm changing your name now for sure. Henderson. Jennifer Yentz, good morning. Dorothy Beasley. Fern Skelly, I pray you're well, my dear friend. Cindy Wiltermood, good artist you are. Pat Brooks, 40 degrees in the South. Pat, y'all are going to have to get sweaters. That's all there is to it. Burr, it is cold. Hey, 40 is cold when you're in Florida. I don't care. Hey, there's a lot of water around there. And, well, the cold air has moisture in it. You know what that is. All right. I love it. It's JJ Dask. Thanks for being on. Bert Crone, good morning to you from Greenville, South Carolina. Heather Kuhlman. Tissy says, it's Monday. You're not supposed to be on here. Yeah, I just decided because it was a holiday. And I've got a little bit of work at the art desk this morning anyway. I'm trying to wrap up some magazine pieces that I'm doing and something else with some advertising folks that I think I'm probably going to go through with these 4 large paintings for them. So we'll see how that works. I'm not going to do them all today, but we'll talk about it. Beverly Schmidt, good morning. Jason Nicholas from New Jersey. Thanks for being on, man. Guess you're off from school today. Ricky Bastanaz. That's why I never say your middle name, Ricky Govars. It's just too hard for East Tennessee guys to pronounce. Elaine Barnett, Denise Albright, Gene Anthalzer, Laura Abbott. Golly, thanks for jumping on, people. Love that you're here. The check could have been at least $28.57. Now that would have been a story right there, Jason. 50 years in Buffalo, New York. I know Cole. Oh yeah, no kidding, man. All right, here we go. Donna Sil Barton, Sylvia Roselle, June Jones, Chris Whitaker. Hope you're doing well. Good to have you on the show. Linda Schleitning, Heather Faubert. Is it Faubert? It was F-O-U, Faubert. Laura Belushi. Everybody's giving me their weather temperature because I said something about it. 40 in Florida, 42 in Illinois. That's funny, isn't it? I love it when that happens. You know, I was in St. Augustine one time, or living near there, Ponte Vedra Beach, when it actually snowed. And people were going like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. It was probably 1992 or 3, something like that. And we were living there at the time. And it just one morning, I'm going like, wait a minute, those are snow flurries. And Florida people are going like, oh no, I got to get chains. It's the first time that little beach town had ever seen snow. And, you drive north, you see it, but not there. All right, here we go. It's gray and chilly here in Charlotte today. I heard the heat kick in several times last night. So here's what I got on the desk. I got a piece of Kilimanjaro. Don't be surprised. It's Kilimanjaro. Karen, I'm going to respond to this. Karen Walker McAllister Jordan, only because you have 4 names, waiting on one to play pickleball. It's 30 in Georgia. Just play inside. It's just a pickle. I mean, who can't hit a pickle out of a jar with a tennis racket? I heard they named that game after a dog named Pickle who used to retrieve the ball. Is that true? I'm not going to go into it, but here we go. All right. This is a piece of Kilimanjaro, 140 pound. Talked to some people in my house who were here last night having a bite of dinner. Talk about something we're going to study in the few weeks coming up. And both of them had taken my beginner's painting class, but they just got as far as opening it, and then their schedule went haywire, and I said, it's still there, you can take it, or I can just refund you guys. And so they're going to come over to my house in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to get them started. That's going to be fun. And to me, think about it tomorrow, because 12:30 tomorrow, I'm teaching a class of 5th graders. Great Scott, Waldo. So we're going to paint tomorrow at 12 o'clock. It's a beautiful little school about 5 miles from me, and I'm on the, had to go through an act of Congress to get registered there as a volunteer. Not really, it's pretty easy, but they do my background check, and I said, yeah, I'm okay. I came from a long line of rooster painters. Not really, and can't make jokes with those guys, but I got my okay, so I'm going in at 12:30 to paint with 5th graders tomorrow. And I'm taking some Kilimanjaro paper just for them to see what it's like when they paint on something besides what the school issues for them to paint on. But they've got their paint ready and their paper, and they sent me a note early this morning and said, a text and said, we're so excited you're coming in. What else do we need? And I said, paper, towels. Trust me, I'll get a wheelbarrow load of paper towels. So I'm going to do some of the stuff that I do with you guys, and that's where I'll say it's watercolor. We're going to start with water. We're going to add color, and then we're going to make something. Even on the sketches that you do, just use the sketch to give you an idea of where it needs to go, especially if some of you want to do more abstract flowers and things like that, and flora, fauna, and forest animals that just look whimsical. Some of you, I know, do detail work, several of you who do it well. And you're beginning to know, and we can see it now. You can see your styles. You post them on Roost Crew, and you go, before I even read the name, I know who's painted something just because I'm familiar with how you paint. It's how your brain and your muscle memory works. And that's why I want you to sketch over and over and over. That's why 857 is so important. 20 minutes a day. Did you know that added up to that? It was just one of those in life. I didn't really plan it that way. Don't start making a plan now, Woody Paul. Ranger Doug would say to the Riders in the Sky, don't start thinking about a plan now. Just get on the fiddle and go. And that's when I woke up thinking about a fiddle. And so sketch 20 minutes a day. See, I'm ADD. And you'll be a better artist for it. I'm going to just rip a page out of here. This is like ripping a page from Davy Crockett's diary. Today we're going to live this historical page right here. I wonder why they called him Davy. I mean, he was a senator, wasn't he? I don't know, was he? He was a congressman from Tennessee. I had a raccoon skin cap once. About had another one right over Christmas. A big one was showing up in my backyard. And so I put out a little notice in the neighborhood and said, if anybody wants a hat, then don't arrest me when I shoot this thing in my backyard because they're dangerous. And I had grandkids out there, and he walked right up close to them. And so I said to him one day, trap. I will trap you and move you. And I found a place to take him. And then, I don't know, maybe he heard it. He left. So he hasn't been back. So he rescued himself. All right, here we go. Dorina Tan, good morning. I haven't seen your name on the show before, but blessings. You have a little ray of sunshine on your name. I appreciate that, wherever in the world you're living. Michelle Mace, Kelly Berger, glad you guys are on. James O. Wade Jr., glad you're here. All right, here we go. La, 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 la. Oh, dog kept getting the ball and running. His name was Pickle. Karen Walker McAllister Jordan, thank you. So what I heard was true about pickleball. Well, there you have it. I used to have a cat that ate cheese, but I could never get him to eat a pickle. But I don't know what that has to do with anything. All right, here we go. This is the piece of paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it like this. Or if this bothers you, I can always get rid of it. I've got a pair of scissors or a pocket knife. Sometimes I do both. Just to cut this off, this bothers some people sometimes. I was going to show you something that Jason asked me a question the other day. Jason asked these leading questions that are good for everybody, but also good for how he learns as an artist. He's a teacher. Those of you who are teachers, by the way, you see that? Mm-hmm. And that's with the Swiss Army knife, one of my favorites. Somewhere up on this desk there should be, oh my gosh, does he have it? Look, he's got it. There is a little roll of painting tape. I know some of you are going to say, well, I have cheaper tape than that. It's called masking tape, and it's blue, and I get it at a big box store. And I go, I know you do. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have a mindset. Let me tell you why it is. Why do I spend $4 extra to get a roll of painting tape? I don't use much of it. I don't ever use this as painting tape, except in my art desk in watercolor. So this is the only time this tape is used. The only other time that I use masking tape or any tape like that is when I'm painting something outside. I like the green tape when I'm painting outside, but I don't like blue and green tape when I'm painting on white paper. It affects the shadow and the shade of the color that I see up close to it. Now, I know that's not a big deal for you, but because the white paper is so important to me, it makes a difference. Does that make sense? So now, I know it's not a big deal, but it seems like a big deal to me. Now, I'm wearing because it's cold, I have on a scarf this morning, and it's, yes, it is. Go ahead, say it. It's cashmere. Woo-wee. Okay. I don't buy it. My wife bought it some while ago. And I'm just going to put a little piece of tape across here like this. And then I'm going to put another little piece across here like this. The reason I'm doing this is because sometimes I do this and sometimes I just have a mental note down there and sometimes I don't care. Jason asked me the other day, what do you do on the edge of your paintings that keep them from, so that makes them easier to frame? And I say, hey, sometimes people just use a glass floating frame. Sometimes they will use, why am I putting this on my scarf here? Because I'm taking some of the adhesive off so that when I go to pull it up, it doesn't rip the tape, but it still sticks enough. And I'm going to move this in just a little bit right there, just off the edge. And I didn't even finish it right there. Just ripped it a little short. Trying to save tape again. Okay, so just take a piece of tape and I put it one little swipe down on my scarf or on my shirt or on my jeans if I'm wearing Levi's. Get a little bit of lint on it. And then what that'll do is that will, I made that one short too. I'll tell you what, that's amazing. Couldn't even have measured those as well. All right, so I'm just putting a little tape on there. It's going to give me a hard edge around the edge. It's going to give me another 3/4 of an inch and a half on the ends just from where it's already going to be framed a little bit. Okay, see that? So I do that sometimes. Why do I not use just regular cheap masking tape? It's not because I'm a penny pincher, because I am in my art supplies. It's because of this, but I don't get cheap on paper. I buy the best paper I can. Do you hear me say that over and over? It's not a judgment call on who you are and your budget. It is the better paper you have, the better you paint. The better someday you're going to say, ooh, I know how that paper responds, okay? So that's real important. Okay. Yeah, you did have an idea. Sometimes you use it on a larger piece of paper, and I do that too sometimes. But I like painting on this paper because it's just easier for me to carry, and I have tons of it on my desk, and so that's kind of the reason I reach for it. I always buy 2 of these at the same time when I'm buying these pads. The reason being is that I'm going to mess up several of them, but I'm going to have one with me at all times. They fit right in my little sling bag that I carry. It almost fits in my bug out bag, and without my other stuff, it will. All right, so I woke up thinking about something I promised my grandson I was going to do, and that something was a fiddle player. And so this is a fiddle player that I'm probably going to paint larger, and I'm going to sell it, but at the same time, I'm probably going to shoot it down and reduce it to a pretty tight graphic so I can put it on a phone case for him. He has my, if I were looking at it, I don't have it here. He has my violin. I don't have it. The only thing I have now that resembles a violin is this one on the wall right here. Let me take it down. I'll show it to you. It's this one right here. There it is. There it is right there. It's made out of wire. It's actually a pretty good thing for sketching. Wow, that'd be kind of cool. I never thought about that, but now look, there it is. There is my sketch right there, and that's the position that I want it in. Ha! Here's the end of it. It's a little cruddy on this end, but how do you make a wire into a violin? And by the way, it does have a whittled fiddle peg. I was just sitting out by the fire one day many years ago, and I whittled a cedar. I think I've shown you this before, and this is a real walnut peg here that came from a violin, but here is my wire violin, and this wire is just what we call farm baling wire, and I take it off of the roll. You buy it for, I don't know, $7 or $8, and there's 14,000 feet on there. It's probably more expensive now, but I put one end in a vise, and I take the other end and I wrap it around some pretty heavy-duty pliers and get my gloves on, and I go out and I'd stretch it in 7 or 8 foot pieces at a time, and so I pull it, and it is like a string. You can pull it, you can hear it go. You can hear this little sound. It's the weirdest thing when the spring of that wire sort of gives up, and it's not a spring, but when the tension in it sort of lets go, it goes, and you go, whoa, and it lays straight. And so then you take the straight pieces, because if you just try to use it in a circle, it's going to have all these little undulations and dents. And so this way, if I get a straight piece of wire, and by the way, this is from there to there, to there, to there, to there. That's one piece of wire. So all the way from here, let me back this camera out just a little bit right there. So from here all the way around, that is one piece of wire. And it's wound together right here. This is one piece of wire that goes all the way up. and makes this curl. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to tell you, I laid my actual fiddle when I had it down on a piece of paper and I traced it. And then I did some string measurements around and I knew how long those pieces of wire were going to be. See there? So if you want to make a wire sculpture, it's a lot like sketching. But look at this right here. If I turn this violin like this right here, do you see all these places right here? This is what I want to sketch. I want to sketch the violin actually being played like this. So take a look. So I see this, I see here, and it's over on its edge a little bit. So that's kind of what I'm looking for this morning. So once again, if you want to do a wire sketch, stretch your wire straight, trace the image you're going to do. Unless you just want to freelance it, you can. But I just traced a real violin. I was going to do a banjo and it looked kind of rock, but it's like, who wants a long? So, but the violin is perfect for that. And then I took string and started here, and I laid it down on the trace, and I went, okay, just to get close. I can always cut this end off, but I didn't want to come up 4 inches short and go, shoot, I got to do all that again, because these were the hard bends. How hard were they? Nah, this bends at your thumb. So there's my sketch. I'm going to put it back up here, if you don't mind. I'm going to stand up and get out of the way here for a second. It hangs on this beautiful wall hook that I made called a push pin. All right, so here we go. Little banjo music. I think I need a little. Oh no, I need violins. Come on, it's. I said banjo, but I meant fiddle. So let's just see if I got some violin music here. Do I have some violin music? Oh, that's frustrating. Gotta have some violin music somewhere. Just give me a minute here. I'll find a piece. Jason, you got to always find different ways to do that. Have you ever made a hammer dulcimer? Sammy, I have made a hammer dulcimer. So how's that? I'd never finished it. I put the pins in it and got time to string it. And I wound up just sort of letting it, we went through a move and a job change. And then I finally wound up selling it to somebody. But I own a hammer dulcimer, gave it to my son for a while. I'm a fan of the hammer dulcimer. And a friend of mine used to make them in Asheville, North Carolina. And I helped him move 2 old pianos one time. He would take these old torn up pianos from churches and basements and people who go, nobody ever plays it anymore. It weighs 14,000 pounds. And so what they would do was, he would take the spruce out of the soundboards of the hammer pianos and use that for the tops of his hammer dulcimer. So you are hitting on an area that I absolutely love, and it's the hammer dulcimer. I have a friend that used to play quite often. He lived in Asheville, North Carolina. His name was Jim. All right, here we go. So what I need now is I need my fiddle to come down this way. I want the guy to be playing it this direction, okay? I'm right-handed. I've never seen a left-handed fiddle player, but I bet that would be something to see. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go, sharpen this pencil up, and I'm using a pencil because let me turn the music down a little bit. I don't sketch many violins, okay? But I think I want it to roll out, and they're sort of flatter across the bottom. And the reason I'm doing it in pencil or pen is because I want it to, I think I like where this is going here. You see why I started way over there like this. And that's going to come down here. There's the end, pins. Okay, there's the start of it. This neck could be a little straighter here. Let me turn the music down just a little bit more. Someday I would love for you to shoot that camera around your room. No, you would not. There's a 12-pound cannon over there. There's 2 banjos on the wall. There's a red Chevrolet truck over there. There's 5 cannons up there. There's a bunch of anvils. This is quite a studio. My wife would go, There's a great piece of furniture over here on this side. That's probably about a turn of the century pine hutch, poplar doors, 2 drawers and a door. It looks like a kitchen hooser, but it's all made out of wood. Had that for years. Carol and I used to do a lot with primitive furniture. We used to help people find it and buy it. And so, yeah, we've had a couple of lives. All right, so there you go. There's my fiddle. Let's see for this side. If he's holding this up, I think this is going to have to cut in like that. There we go. So you can't see that. So I'm going to take my 05 pen and I'm going to draw it in. I penciled it in. You don't see me do that very often. So here we go. Watch this. I'm going to put the lines in now. I'm just going to commit. He just committed. Or he needs to be committed, one or the other. Okay, so now here's where I'm going to stop with my sketch. The bridge right here. I'm going to let this come out like here and cut back and then get skinny and then come in with the in and open. A couple keys coming out. Nobody really cares how good this is. That's not what the painting's about. Just said it, didn't I? I just said it. Like, nobody cares about this. Oh, that's not very detailed. That's not what the painting's about. I'm going to stop here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some chicken feathers and a waddle, and then I'm going to just do his head turn this way. I'm going to bring that waddle in this way. Oh, look at that. See what I did? I just brought some feathers in over the edge of the violin. Can you see that right there? That needs to be closer. I'm sorry. Let me come in a little closer like this so you can see that. Dang, there I am. I apologize. I pulled out to show you something. I can't remember what it was. All right, that's a little better right there. Now you can see what I did, okay? So now you see where I stopped right here with my sketch. I didn't do it in pen because I wanted the rooster feathers, or the neck of the rooster feathers, to come over the violin. Now, here's where you have to think like an artist. I got to think. Something's going to be in front of something else. So I'm either going to have to resketch, I'm going to have to worry about sketching all at the same time, or I'm just going to leave the back end of the violin off. Well, that's what I chose to do. Sometimes I'll do that if I'm painting a rooster in a chair. You know what I'm saying? If I've got an Adirondack chair, you know, and I've got the rooster here like this, I can sketch that Adirondack chair in pencil and bring it down here with the leg and bring this side over like this and come up with the back of the Adirondack chair. This is all in pencil. And then before I pen everything in, like right here, I can drop some feathers down off this back part, like if that wasn't pen. Or I can bring a piece here and cut in. And then really what I do then is I wind up thinking, okay, now I've got my rooster in the chair. See? You see how I just did that? I've learned over the years that a pencil helps me there more than it does just knock it out. If I'm not worried about it, if I'm out sketching, but I could have done this with the pen because now I'm sort of smart enough to think I know how to do that, and I think make it work. Got the waddle swung around here like this. I'm going to take the other part of this and bring it down, pop it in, and then bring this part back. And so now I did mess up here a little bit because I should have brought one of those feathers of the other hand up over the neck, but I can still get by with that and hide it. And I'm going to put in a minute, I'm going to put a bow in here, and I can hide that too. So we know this is going to come down here. We know he's going to have some feathers that come out here like this. We don't need to see too many tail feathers, so there they are. Gosh, this might work for my grandson's phone case. I don't have a whole lot of room to play with, so I think I'm going to pick this foot up like this and bring it back in, and then I'm going to bring this one down and plant it on the ground with three-toed split like this. I think I want to put a wing coming down here like this. There's an arm coming out a little bit, maybe another feather or two there. I'll put strings on the violin. The violin has F holes, and I don't know why they call them F holes. They could have called them something else, but they didn't. Let's see how this one's going to go. It goes just the opposite. So how's that going to be? It's going to start here and come around this way and go that way. I think that's how it goes, like that. Okay, so then we got those in. And then I can put some 4 strings on there and put it in. And then I'll come down with this hand right here and put in the frog, which is the whole part. And this has a little tick back that comes on it like that. So there's my fiddle player rooster right there. So he's there. This foot could be up if he's dancing, which let's just let him dance. Let's just do that. Let's just put his foot up like this. So I'm just going to cross hatch this like this. And I like that classical music that was playing, had a lot of strings, had a lot of violin in it. I tell you why I liked it. It was fast enough to make me speed this up a little bit. So, wow, I kind of like it. Okay, now he seems to be way over here a bit, but he's moving into the picture. We don't know what's on this side, but probably the edge of the stage, the audience, who knows. Let's paint him and see what happens. I'm going to wet these watercolors just a little bit right here, just with a spruce spray mist. Just a little bit of, this is a very misting, it's called a misting bottle. I think what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to paint with not a bamboo brush, but just a number 6 American Journey nylon, interlock nylon. All right, here we go. So let's throw some other music on there, just something that, let's throw that piece I started with. And let's pull this in just a little bit so you can really see me. Wow, I got to get some paper towel here. I made a mess. I could have cleaned off this today, but yeah, in the sake of saving paper. There we go. That's kind of a good little. All right, let's come back in right there. I may turn that some. I think that's kind of a sharp wire right there. It looks like that's all focused in a little bit. I always start at the top and work down. Plus, I'm right-handed, so I start over here and come this way. If I paint on this side first, then I'm putting my hand in it as I get over here and do some detail. All right, so I'm going to always start over here on this side, especially on this root because he's going this way. I'm just going to come in and I'm going to add a little bit of just some red, but I'm also going to add a little light red with some water in it. Remember I said I like to paint with water first, so I'm just going to put some water up here in these tail feathers just to let it sort of just rock in there just a little bit and set. Okay, I might add some tail feathers to this. I might just push a couple out there like that. Now I'm going to come back and pick up a little more red now that I've wet this, and look what happens. Water, then color. Come back in here. I didn't put any down here. And I'm liking his, this is too much wattle, so I'm going to just lose that and let this be the wattle that comes in right there. I'm going to come and let some yellow come out over this, and we'll come back in and do his beak. This time I'm not going to put water in the beak. I'm going to paint it dry, just with a damp brush and some Indian yellow, some gambos. I'm going to come in here and just paint this like this. I don't want it to touch the red just yet because I'm bringing this in here. And then I'm going to bring this over the violin again, just like that. All right, now I touch the red just a little, and it's going to run into this and create a little bit of an orange up there. Same with this. I'm touching my brush. It has some yellow in it into my comb. And so there we go. That's the start of it. Now you can see how it looks like the violin is pressed into his wattle, which is what happens. You know, the violinist can sometimes walk around. He talks like this, but he walks around and he holds his violin under his chin. It's something like you would see in Saturday Night Live, which I quit watching in 1972. All right. I think I'm going to do something really different. I did it yesterday and I liked it. I'm going to throw some green into these tail feathers. I just think there's something about that this time of year. Maybe it's that I wish we were coming around the corner already in February and thinking, you know, we'll have some warm days in February where we'll start to say, I believe I saw a tree budding. There's still life up there. I'm going to throw just a touch of blue right there and here and right here, just to have a little bit of that blue in there. But I'm also going to get a little bit of lamp black and throw a couple of black things in there. I can black marks. I think I could also grab my pen here. And this is where a Lamy pen comes in handy. Just grab a little bit of a Lamy pen. Lamy may not come in there and do it, but I think it might if I just touch it to it some and get a little bit of some detail in the feather. And why am I putting the detail in now? It doesn't seem like you do detail until everything was dry. Well, I want these little detail marks to sorry, I just kicked my thermos over down here, which reminds me, I need some tea. It's Monday. Whew. And I don't count the words that I say on this show, but I say way too many, so I apologize sometimes for just keeping the banter going. But, you know, I'm in the studio by myself. Oh, man, that is good. I'm using Kilimanjaro. My brain is holding me back from sketching on it. How do you break that fearful mindset when trying new tools and mediums? Well, one is, Jason, you know, Kilimanjaro also gives you these little fly leaves, so just sketch on that. But then you're just, one day you're going to have to go is it worth $22 for me to just waste 4 pieces of paper in here or 10 pieces of paper? And the answer is yes, it is. Especially as good as you are, and Denise, and all these people who started using this paper. Look, I don't sell this paper, and I don't get a kickback when I do sell this paper. That's not what this is about. I don't care if you're on Good Canson. I don't care what you're on. The moment you start to paint, sketch, and work on a piece of paper, this doesn't mean you can't change paper. But get a paper that you love. Get a paper that you like the background on. I'm going to explain this one more time. Here, and I'm going to go get a piece of paper to do it. Where did he go? He ran away. Maybe I'm going to. Oh, you know what? I think I gave that piece of paper away. Shucks. Hold on. Oh, here's a good example right here. Got it. Got it. Okay, let's take a break here and let me just show you something. So if you're taking notes, here's how you take notes. Look, this is acrylic paper. It's made for acrylic paint. It doesn't even say for water. It says for acrylic painting. Well, why would a watercolor artist have acrylic painting in here? Because I was painting on a painting. If you remember a couple of years ago, I painted a painting. It was Jenny Butts up in Ohio. We lost her painting. Great story. Oh my gosh, those of you who remember that story. I wanted the painting to look like a quilt. And I wanted it to look more like a quilt than me just painting a quilt. I wanted the painting paper to look like fabric. And so I just went to Michael's and I just started going through all their paper. I was at Cheap Joe's and I thought, I don't know what to buy. And I thought, no, I just want to gamble a few bucks on this. I don't even see it's probably $7 or $8 on this. And I bought acrylic paper made by Strathmore. But look at this. This is key right here. Linen finish. Linen finish right there. It says linen finish. All right. So this paper, when you hold it up to a very extreme light, get ready. Let me see if it'll do it here. Just hang on one second. All right. Take a look at the paper right. No, come on. Do this for me, please. No, it's not going to do it, is it? Probably can't hold it still enough. Hold on one second before you think you've gone blind. Rats. I was hoping I could do this, but I don't think I can. No, it's not going to work. Anyway, this looks like it looks like a linen shirt. It looks like the woven fabric in here is unbelievable. If I put color on this and when it dries, it's going to look like I painted it on fabric. I had no idea using linen paper would do that. So I learned something and I gambled a few bucks to do it. Okay, so that's linen paper. This is Canson paper that some of you might use and you go, hey, this is pretty expensive paper. Well, it is, but it's good throwaway sketch paper for me because I don't like the way my style of art finishes on this. It's not that I don't like painting on it. I don't like the way my style of art finishes on this. It doesn't finish as brightly as I like my art to pop. And so for that reason, it is great sketch paper for me. It's good work paper. I'll take this paper with me tomorrow to the 5th grade class because I'll have a projector coming down over my artwork and I want to do a large roo and I want them to see it bigger than this little rooster I'm working on this morning. And so I'll take that paper in and it works fine. I don't care if it finishes strong or not. It's a piece of art I'm not going to send out to anybody. It's not going to be hanging on anybody's wall except I'll sign it, leave it with the 5th grade. But it'll work great in their classroom. It is pretty decent in its approach to how the rough surface is. It's kind of uniform, but it's small and it's lightweight. It's not as rough as the 140-pound Kilimanjaro. It even feels lighter weight, even though it's registered as a 140-pound paper. It just doesn't have the punch. Why? Well, because Kilimanjaro has cotton in it. Rag cotton, 100% cotton. This is made with tree pulp, so it's going to feel differently. Okay, the next paper that I picked up was Fabriano, which is an expensive paper, by the way. You pay a lot for Fabriano. Hanmula paper feels more like Kilimanjaro to me. I really like that paper, by the way. This paper is Fabriano. It's great paper. You're going to pay for it. You're going to like it. What bothers me about this paper is that this roughness of it is the undulations how can I explain this? Those of you who ski, there's mogul fields. There's easy moguls, whoop-de-doos, and then there's moguls that are just like this. This to me is the latter mogul field. These things are spaced out in such a way that they all start looking uniform, and so all my paint starts looking that way. I wanted it to look like linen. This time I don't want it to look like waste. So for me, over a period of years, I have moved into my style, into the paper that I like the best. I know that's the hard thing to get online, but trust me, I want you to experiment with all sorts of papers. I'm not saying buy one or the over the other. If you love painting on this and you like the look of your finished art on this, I think that is fantastic. If you don't, change papers. For me, maybe it had to do with the fact that I simply started on this paper when I started watercoloring, and I got used to it and I liked it. I built my style around it. That has something to do with it, yes. The other thing is, I've tried 10 other papers, expensive papers, papers that have been given to me and shipped in here. I have a couple art companies that ship me a pad of paper and said, try this, you'll love it. What do you think? And I've gone back to them and said, I don't think you make it easy on me on my style. So this is one of those papers that when I paint it, after it's finished, I can look at it a year later and go, I painted it on Fabriano. Why? Well, look at all the grit in it. It's like I painted it on a template of all the moguls, all the nodules are the same shape and same size. Rag cotton can't do that. It sort of just is left to the imagination, and it just runs a little rampant everywhere. To me, that's more natural. Can you tell the difference between a fake rock and a real rock? If you didn't pick them up? The fake rock has all these little plastic mold pieces that it's in there. The real rock just has undulations and natural, and it's why faux painters can be found out real easy if they're not good at painting like natural. So that's my 2 cents on paper again this morning. I hope that didn't bore you, those of you who are not going down this hole that deep. But if you're going to watercolor at some point in time, you're going to have to go down the hole that's pretty deep. And so I want you to do that feeling confident in the fact that you feel good about the paper that you use and the paint that you use. Wow, that took me a long time to do, but I think you understand where I'm headed with that. And to answer Jason's question, I think really what you have to do, I think you just have to... although I do like the Fabriano soft press paper, Karen Pulver, yes, and that would be hot press. Some of you who are painting flowers and florals, I will just tell you right now, if you've watched True Cotton Paint, my daughter, True Cotton Art, her go-to paper is Fabriano hot press. Just like that. It's slick and it runs, and she loves the undulations. She loves that fumato, where they blend over each other. She loves that in her art, in her flowers. So there you go. What does it matter about? It matters about your style and what you want. And I want to make that clear. I'm not saying if you don't get this paper, you'll never be good. I never say that. Never say never, people. You can paint with a screwdriver by just dipping it in the paint and scratching it onto a piece of wood. I've told you about my friend who paints, I helped him get that direction. He was already a phenomenal artist, but he needed a little painting about this size that people could hang anywhere in their house. One of my rules. And I said this. I gotta focus this one more time. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do too many things at once here, but isn't that what I do? I think so. All right, I'm going to go in a little closer one more time so I can finish this painting for you. So just be right here. I promise you I'll try and finish it today. All right, I like where he's going. I like his violin. That's pretty cool. Some of you are going to say it's the size of a viola, but hey, it's not. It's a violin. He's a small rooster. And so he would paint an acrylic painting of a golf hole somewhere in the country, a golf course that he had played, or a famous hole, like even the 13 at the Masters, or Amen Corner. He'd paint one of those, or 17 at TPC in Ponte Vedra, the Island Green. He would paint it with a golf tee, using a golf tee as the brush, and then talked about drilling a hole here and putting the golf tee with it, and say, your painting was painted by this golf tee. Come on, what a great idea. He sold them so fast he couldn't keep up with them. And so the fun thing about that is you can paint with anything. So I'm catching up on this. What is your daughter's name and art? It's truecotton.com. True-cotton. Look up True Cotton and you'll see it. My favorite painting is Kilimanjaro and Arches. I guess we'll find our preference how we paint. That's exactly what it is. And so when you hear me do these explanations, don't hear me say, if you don't have this paper, if you don't have this brush, never hear me say that. Hear me say, work until you find what fits your style. Please hear me say that. If I say anything but that, then I'm mistaken, because that's what happens. At one day when you realize what your style is and you go, this is what I want to paint. This is who I am. By the way, the better you get at painting, the better you'll be able to use just about any paper. There'll just still be some papers that you like better than others. I paint in my travel journals. Is it my favorite paper? No. Why do you paint in them? Because I'm there on the spot. I know how to paint quickly on that paper and do a sketch and catch up with it, and I know how it tells the story later. It has its purpose. There. Everything has its purpose. Man, I think that's quite a spiritual statement. When you figure out what your purpose is and what your style is, you'll become just a remarkable painter. It's going to take a while until you find that. They asked me last night at dinner how long it took me to find my style. And I said about 3 years, 3.5 years it took me to find my style, to say, this is what I'm going to do with art. And Carol kept pushing me to say, you knucklehead, your name is Rooster. And so paint roosters, because you know them, you had them as a child, your family raised them. We raised, that sounds like we were rooster chicken fighters. We raised them as part of our 4-H, my brother's 4-H chickens we raised. And so I want a little bit of orange in here to go with this purple, and then I think I'm going to put in this red color for this brown red color for my violin, and I think I'm done with this rooster. There he is right there, except I'm going to go ahead and paint the ground first, I believe. And I'm just taking a little water on a clean brush. Remember, this was just a 05 pen that I pushed in there. I'm going to touch it with a touch of this green right here, kind of a little bit of an earthen green, and same thing with paint, by the way, that I just did this whole recitation on paper. Do with paint. If you say, oh my gosh, I've been painting this paint forever, this is the paint in the tubes. That's what a tube looks like when I buy it. This is Joe's Red. It comes to me just like this, or I go buy it just like this. 15 milliliter tubes. My gosh, this lasts for a long time. Don't think you have to buy it unless you're painting. Now, I do have a large lobster painting that I've started out in the garage, and but I'm waiting on warmer weather, and I'm going to paint that outside. So I've sketched it. All right, so here we go. I'm just looking to see. I think this violin is going to be a little more red. So there we go. There's some red. There's a little bit of red. This is a Lucky. I don't know if this is Lucky Penny or if this is Quinichrome. You know, I went to Bluegrass Elementary, so I'm not sure what color this is. Paint names should not have as many letters in it as this one has. But it's in the Lucky Penny department. All right. You kind of see it looks a little bit like a penny there. Okay. Ooh, that is looking good. And I think I'm going to put a little darker brown right in here under this bottom to show a little shadow and wear and tear. That's too much, so I'm going to clean my brush out, come in here and just touch that with some water, lighten it up. Look at that. It's going to be a little darker right in here. Grab this, grab a little bit of that dark. Can you still see what I'm doing there? I think I'm trying to not hide my brush. I'm painting a little awkward position here so you can see my brush go in there like so. And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to let that dry for just a second. And I'm going to do some age marks up here in just a minute. But I'm going to come in with a little bit of, first I'm going to use a little bit of Payne's Gray. Donna, if you're on the show. Laura Abbott just, Laura just put, there it is, truecotton.com, true-cotton.com. And she's on Instagram. Yes, she is. Mickey says, oh, you took her watercolor class. Yeah, the woman is good. She's a great artist, thinks like an artist. She's her mother's daughter. I've been using cotty paper. It's very thick and handmade rag cotton. Dorothy, yes, and it is hard for my style to paint on cotty paper. Khadi. I have some here, and it is like me painting on a napkin. And I like to paint on napkins when I'm out in restaurants, but man, that paper just takes off sometimes and gets away from me. And so great for flowers and stuff, though. It can really look cool. Sometimes 300-pound rag cotton or cotty paper is great for doing a composite of flower wreath around the edge and something on the middle. It's really cool. I'm familiar with the paper. Listen, I'm familiar with a lot of watercolor papers. It just seems like I'm a one-horse pony, but sometimes I really kind of do run at it here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a little bit of this brown right up in here in what we call the land snail. Did you know that's what we call the land snail? It's, that little turned up, little curled little snail shell on the end of a violin. That's called the Tennessee land snail. This, of course, is dark again. That's the little piece of ivory board that's back here. And we'll put just an extra touch of black in that right there, so that shows up. And then I'm going to just put a little, weird spot of turquoise right here. I'm just getting a little turquoise. I'm going to put it right there on the frog. Why in the world did I do that? Because I love a frog that has a mother of pearl frog. I love a little bow that has mother of pearl on the end of it. That is pretty cool. Even if I did do it myself right there. Just thought of that right then. Maybe some strings coming down like this off of that. I don't know if you can see those, but I just drew some little bitty strings coming down. I'm going to do some detail in the feet, like so. All right, some toenails here, like so. I don't think this is going to work on my grandson's phone because I think I spread him out just a little too wide. I might could shoot him down. We'll take a look at it. I'll do a high res what am I trying to say? Scan of him and see if I can get him to reduce enough to go on the back of a phone case. I think he'll still be my rooster that I'll sell this morning. I'll just put him out on auction, and but he may wind up on my grandson's phone. All right, that could be a fun thing to do. I'm going to put a little piece of yellow right in here too. Now I'm just going to make him be a little more loose. So here's what I'm going to do. Just going to put on a little bit of music here for me just for a second. Something that sounds a little more, what am I looking for? A little more, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Let's see, this might work right here. There we go. Yeah, Donna's on. Jason says I'm partial to moleskin art journals. Yeah, I do too. Moleskin. By the way, if you're going to do moleskin, you want to make sure that you get the one that's for art, for the art, and it's going to have it's going to say art on it. And it's going to be, this is a Japanese album, but it'll say art, and it'll have periwinkle cover. Don't get the thin ones that I do notes in. They just don't have the beef in the page. This one's a little beefier page. It's a little off-white, almost a little beigey in its color, but you'll definitely want that one, okay? Now what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take this pen. This is an 05 Pentel Intergel, and I'm just going to do some loose hair, just to show some actions. Hair, feathers, you see what I'm saying? I'm going to put a little string or two hanging down. Just doing a little detail with this pen that I really like doing sometimes with my roos, just to give them a little bit of if I wanted some bigger detail, I could come in with an 07. Is there rhyme or reason to why I'm doing this? Just that I like that roughness of my style and my look. Man, I kind of like him. He's pretty cool. Now what I might do just for the painting itself is I'd probably go in here and just grab a little bit of water on this edge right here. And maybe have him playing just about sunrise. So it's going to be a little bit of maybe sunset, a little bit of a yellow-orange sky. And maybe down here it's got a little bit of a blue dark sky. We'll see if we put some of that in. This looks like he's sort of facing sunrise. The night sky's kind of going away, got a little blue. What's that old saying? There's enough blue in the sky to wear cat britches. It won't rain. How about a little bit of mess, just a little bit of Payne's Gray, a pencil and a brush, to come in and just do some tapping around. Some beauty spots, a little red tap right in there. I like a little touch of that red right in here too. Looks like his wattle is sort of waddling out a little bit. Maybe a couple little black lines around that, just like this. Here we go. There he is. Now let's take the tape off and then we'll finish it later. Here we go. Let's just pull the tape off and see what happens. Oh, pull that piece off right off. All right, it should just roll right off there because I put a little adhesive on it. Boom. See that? Remember I stuck them to my scarf or to my jeans a little early on. There we go. That was not the paper ripping, but the tape just ripping where I put that short piece on. Look at this right here. Here's how to make that closed edge. There it is right there. Kaboom. That works out nice. I'm going to cut this one off a little bit anyway, probably once the caption is put on it and the date and the rest of the signature. But there he is right there. There's my fiddle playing Roo. I like his purple kind of bottom end. You know, his middle section is sort of light. I like this yellow sky. Who would ever thought of putting that in? Well, I thought of it, but Sammy says the bottom foot is a real kicker. I get it. John Hartford was one of my favorite fiddle players, and he used to carry around a piece of plywood with him. His crew did. Sometimes he did. He just was a crazy man. I met him twice, and once in Black Mountain, North Carolina, at this little bar called McDibb's. They said, John Hartford's playing here. And I'm going, what? So Carol and I drive over. It's about 40 minutes from our house back then. Oh, like 40 minutes. But that was an eternity for us when we lived in the big metropolis of Weaverville. And we drove out to Black Mountain, and he's sitting outside in a little chair by the door. Had on his derby, you know, and he was sitting there like this. And I said, John Hartford. He goes, yeah. And I said, man, I have an album from you in 1967 called Earthworms. And he goes, I'll buy it from you. I said, no, I'm keeping it. And he goes, well, I'd like to have it. There's not too many of those out there. He had a piece of plywood, and he would lay the plywood down. And if you want to see this sometimes, just Google a YouTube of an early John Hartford, and he would lay a piece of plywood down. He had a piano synthesizer underneath it, and he would sprinkle cornmeal on top of the plywood, and he wore these tap shoes, and he would slide them through the cornmeal. And then he would start to dance. And he would dance as he played, and it would just pull the audience in. And so I know I channel some of that when I see the late, great John Hartford. He got his riverboat pilot license and used to go up and down the Ohio as a riverboat pilot. This is a song about the Julie Bell Swain. Oh, the Julie Bell Swain is a mighty fine boat. So anyway, so all this stuff comes back. So there it is. That's kind of my tribute to my grandson. What I might do when it dries is I might come back in and just clean up a little bit more of the strings. I'm doing it already as I talk, but I think just a little more detail on this violin. But it turned out pretty well, I think, actually. What I might do, too, is come in and put some little, you know, just dots in there and edges. I don't want this to be a new-looking violin. I want this thing to look like it's been played at every barn dance between here and when Noah was on the ark. And take a little touch of orange yellow and just beef up that beak right there just a little bit with a little orange, and then maybe even put a couple little ticks in there with that black pen. You see where I put that pen in there a little while ago in those tail feathers and how it sort of shot up through there? I just let it do what it did while I took a trail talking about watercolor paper. And that's how you do it, people. It's don't make this more difficult than it is. Paint with water and then add a little color. And then just back off, go make some tea and let it go. It shouldn't be that difficult to do. Why do I use white tape instead of blue tape? If I had blue on there, it would have affected the blue that I put on the painting. But the white reminded me of the paper, and I could see the true blue. Does that make sense? If I'd had blue tape here, I wouldn't have known how blue the blue was, so I might have gone darker if this were lighter, or blue tape, or if it were green frog tape. So that's why I don't use tapes that I buy that are like made to paint the walls with. That's why I use an art tape or a mechanical drawing tape or an architectural tape. And I think this says, this is artist tape. You know how I know is because right inside here it says artist tape. There it is right there. And you, unfortunately, because it says artist tape, you have to pay a few more dollars for it. But I had this roll for 4 years, for heaven's sakes. And I have another one over there. Think like an artist. Tomorrow I will do a Patreon class. It's the third, is it the third Tuesday of the month? So I'm going to pick up on where we left off in the book of John. We're painting through the Gospels. That's kind of a fun thing to do. And brings a different kind of art and a meaning to my life. And then Patreon, also the first Tuesdays of the month, we paint a 90-minute drop down, a lot of talking, because I push people in that class. I say, you want your art to change, then you change. Get serious about your 20 minutes a day, 857, and paint something. For me, I'm still working on my bees. I'm at 225, 226, I think. And I'm going to paint 2,000 of them. Why? Does it mean, and I'll have a bunch here. Some of them will never sell. It's fine. I don't care. I'm going to be, if people say they want a honeybee, I'm going to have them flying, running, jumping, dancing, singing, and maybe a choir of bees before I'm done. Bee choir. Okay? All right. So, blessings to you all. I love being a part of what I do on this lovely mountain of Kilimanjaro. There it is. Now you know why, again, why I use the paper, why I use these colors, why the sky is blue. I'm off. Be creative. Have a great holiday. If you're out from school today, do something. So what time Patreon? Karen, Walker, McAllister, Jordan, those Patreon classes are at 8:57 also. The first Tuesday of the month is a 90-minute class. By the way, those are all recorded, so they always stay there. So the people who support me on Patreon at that amazing, outrageous cost of $11.57 a month, I get both of those doors open for those classes. For those of you who painted Back to One Roo, for those of you who painted that, you still have a link, and those videos are still up. You can go back. I talked to 2 people last night about that and said, hey, we want to go back and watch those, how to paint watercolor again. They're out there. You know, I am painting a live class coming up in March. It's called the Canoga Water Media Workshops, and it is in Black Mountain, North Carolina at Montreat College. It's right just half a mile out of downtown Black Mountain, up on the mountain, up on the hill. Maybe 3/4 of a mile up there on the hillside. Beautiful little school. There's 12 artists coming in from all over the country, and I've been selected to be one of those artists, and so the workshop is coming together. You can find information on that at Canoga, Kanuga, Water Media. And so if you want to come there and be in person, I don't have the details. I don't get them. I don't take up the cash. I don't do anything. And by the way, just for what it's worth, I am taking a travel journal with me this weekend. Carol and I are going to visit a friend who's had a rough go, lost her husband this year. We're going to visit her for a day in Bluffton, Georgia, and then we're traveling on down 2 nights at Jekyll Island, the resort and inn, and we're going to be there. I'm going to meet the staff that I was talking to last year about us doing a sketching event, and I'm going to try and work that out. I wanted to have this other class behind me first and just learn some details and the best way to organize that, but we'll probably do a short sketching thing there. I want to do one next year if we can, and that would just be bringing a sketch journal, maybe a moleskin sketch journal, and maybe one of those will come with the price of the class. Couple good pencils, a brush or 2, and some small paints. I mean, like 6 colors, and let's run and gun. They have transportation there, so that's in Jekyll Island, Georgia, at the Jekyll Island, Georgia Inn and Resort. It looks like a castle. Look it up. It is just so cool. It's an old wooden hotel, and we used to do a lot of work there. It's a great history. But I'm going to meet their staff again this week, and then we're going on a little adventure down there for it's a Christmas gift that we gave each other to say, let's just go do a 2-day adventure. And so that's going to be this weekend. So we're off and running. As a matter of fact, yeah, I may just say hello Saturday morning and tell you where I am. I'm not sure where I'll be. I'll still probably be in Bluffton. And all right, thanks to you all. Appreciate your own here. I had my harmonica in my hand. I always give myself a little theme music to go out. It's really not theme music, is it? No, it really isn't theme music at all. All it is really is a note, a bunch of notes. It's probably notes 2 through 7. And that's when you take the breath in.